Good morning, wrestling fans. Welcome to PWR today, Wednesday morning, September 22nd. Do you remember the day after the 1st of September? I mean, the first
That
day
would
of...
technically be September the 2nd, the day after the 1st of September.
Yes, I know. But I wanted to sing one more time to Matthew Thomas. Good morning, Matthew.
Hey, good morning, Meathead. Glad to be back in the old stomping grounds of PWR today.
Yeah, we're it's a big wrestling week. I mean, we are working our way. We've got GrandSlam from AEW coming up tonight and Friday. We've got Extreme Rules, which has no Extreme Rules yet, set up for Sunday. And we're going to be talking about NXT 2.0. 2.0 today from last night's show of NXT. But first off, if we wanted to put a fresh new paint job on what we're wearing outside in wrestling fashion, what would we do?
Well, you would wear your old clothes because you would not want to get any paint on your Collar and Elbow brand gear, available exclusively at collarandelbowbrand.com. If you enter promo code Linda K in the checkout, LINDAKAY, you save yourself 10% that you can really use to do whatever you want to with it. Now, I've got a couple ideas for what you should do with that money, but I'm not going to get into that today. Enter promo code Linda K, save yourself 10%, and don yourself in the finest of professional wrestling fashion.
All right. Well, let's talk about some of the finest in professional wrestling news on a Wednesday morning. Are you ready?
Oh, I'm ready.
First off, a little bit of WWE news, if you will. Matthew, I think we mentioned it during the week, but I want to talk about it again. The WWE is going to be heading over to Europe for a run. Now, with all the stuff that we've talked about it ad nauseum now for 3 or 4 shows with everything from the plane ride from hell. Do you think things will be going a little bit differently this time when the WWE heads to Europe?
Maybe they're just taking a bus. Maybe they're not getting on a plane at all. Maybe they're just taking a bus or a submarine.
Matthew.
They got a ferry, right? Can't you take a ferry to Europe?
Yes, that's exactly how people get across the pond, if you will, from across the pond. So, excuse me, WWE heading to Europe. There's going to be some live Raws, some live SmackDowns. Not live, but obviously recorded live and then aired. Again, the draft happening very soon as well. WWE, Matthew, you heard Linda and I talk about it yesterday morning. A very loaded Monday Night Raw. I don't know why they thought they had to compete that hard with Green Bay and Detroit, but they did. And your thoughts real quick before we move on to AEW news. Your thoughts on a main event of Roman Reigns, Bobby Lashley, and Big E.
So let's look at what's happened in the last 2 weeks on Raw. You've had Big E win the title. You've had the women's tag titles change, and you've had a Big Four pay-per-view headlining main event on a Raw. Yeah, they're going up against Monday Night Football, but they know the buzz that's going around AEW right now. They know AEW is putting on a dream match later this week. AEW is delivering quintessentially a free pay-per-view tonight. So, yeah, they're competing with Monday Night Football, but they know what the buzz going on in the industry is. And again, we go back to how good competition can be. And I think you are starting to see it finally with the WWE right now and what they are delivering. Listen to some of the matchups they put out there and the crowd response they've gotten over the last couple of weeks. That WWE Raw crowd especially has started to dial up. We got it a few weeks ago with It Was Almost and Lashley. I think that was one of the first visceral pops that I can remember on a Raw where people got excited about a matchup. We got it with Big E's title run, and then we got it in the main event Monday night. So Raw,
but are
definitely
they blowing their load? I mean, pun intended, of course.
Yeah.
But are they blowing their load too early and giving it away for free?
I think you've got to at this point. You've got to do something quick to just kind of put your claws back in people. And, these things can present itself. Biggie, I think, was a very good call because that's something you can continue to ride to Raw. You can continue to ride in pay-per-views. Yeah, I mean, New Day versus versus the Usos and Roman, that's a Survivor Series type of match. I'm a little bit surprised we got that as quick as we did, but you're doing
still
it
a pay-per-view match.
Yeah, you're doing it at the right time, though. I mean, who knows what the draft's going to look like? A lot of these things might not necessarily present themselves, and then going in the next few weeks. So, yeah, I mean, you can make the case that they're putting some stuff on free TV that they don't normally do, but my goodness, I think at this point,
is this a make good to USA from all the stuff they've given Fox?
Well, I think you've got to change the narrative away from AEW to a certain extent. And let's be honest, I mean, that company has been overpowering the professional wrestling narrative in the last, 2 months.
Wait. So that company's EC3, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. That company's EC3 is basically what I just said.
So if you take anything away from what Matthew just said, AEW is really EC3. That's all.
That's the Cliff Notes version.
We've got notes on AEW, and I want to kind of segue into that. There was talk that AEW's Full Gear was going to be Saturday, November 6th in St. Louis. Matter of fact, I know the accounting firm of Dewey, Cheatham, and Howe has November 6th written down as the date for Full Gear. Well, that has been bumped 1 week. November 6th, there is a big UFC pay-per-view going to be taking place. So Tony Khan said that they've moved St. Louis, and they're heading to Minneapolis.
Interesting. I mean, definitely one thing we're seeing with AEW, a little bit more of a fluid pay-per-view schedule than you're used to seeing from the WWE.
You know what I also expect is a make good with St. Louis as well. I'm pretty sure that that's something that's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, you got to think there's some disappointed folks out there not getting the show.
Well, my Brewers are playing the Cardinals right now, so I have nothing but
disdain.
I wouldn't say disdained. I would say I really don't want anything to do with St. Louis at the moment. You know what I mean?
That's reasonable.
I've been down to St. Louis. They got a lovely baseball stadium. We did a couple games down there against the Brewers, and the fans were lovely. But I don't want to hear a thing about St. Louis. I want to hear about Milwaukee. I want to know when the pay-per-view is coming to Miller Park, or American Family Field. When can we put on a all-in pay-per-view or an all-out pay-per-view in February in Milwaukee? Because to be completely honest, Matthew, there was always talk when Miller Park, now known as American Family Field, opened. How can we get a WrestleMania in there? Yeah. WrestleMania happens in April, and baseball happens in April. It's never going to happen. But you want to run wrestling in Milwaukee, and you want to run it at a stadium, why not the Royal Rumble, or why not All Out?
Yeah. No, very valid reasons there.
All right, so that's AEW. We've also got a little bit of Keith Lee news, but it's not just Keith Lee anymore. It's Keith BearCat Lee. Matthew, there's a little talk on his nickname BearCat. He was announced as Keith BearCat Lee, and he's using that as his new middle name. So a little bit of a reference. It's being speculated that the BearCat nickname references to BearCat Wright, a popular African-American pro wrestler from the 50s and 60s, who was posthumously inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. Legacy win in 2017. He was also known as BearCat Brown. Here's the thing. There was talk that everybody talks about Ron Simmons being the first ever African-American heavyweight champion of the world. There was talk that actually that's not right, that it was BearCat actually defeating Killer Kowalski and becoming the first ever world champion back in the day. So if this is true, that Keith is going by Keith BearCat Lee, that's great. I love the nickname BearCat. And Matthew, what's your thoughts?
No, great. I mean, it's got, some history and lineage to it, and it sounds good. It's not an overused moniker that you've heard a ton of, and I definitely like it a lot better than Braun Breaker or LA Knight or a lot of the WWE names that we're hearing as of late. So, credit to whoever decided to go in this direction and not go into the drawing a name out of a hat.
I mean, is it one of those memes on Facebook where the date and the birth and the month, and that's how you come up with your name? Is that how they're coming up with names?
It's got to be. There's something along those parts, or a computer generator or something. Because some of what we
pick wrestlers' names.
Yeah, some of what we've been getting recently, you got to think that's the right.
Boy, oh boy. And we joked earlier, you had asked me what my nickname in college was, and you thought it was BearCat, but it was not. That was not my nickname in college. So, in case you were
Who
wondering.
who would have thought?
Yeah. One more bit of news before we crack into NXT and talk a little AEW Grand Slam tonight. There is a trailer out there for the new Netflix Escape the Undertaker interactive film. My kids have played some of these interactive TV shows on Netflix. Matthew, you say that you might know a little bit about it. Well, Escape the Undertaker is set to premiere on Netflix on October 5th, 2021.
So, do I have to buy tickets to get into this trailer? I don't quite understand. Is it like a haunted house, but instead of a house,
it's like one of those
trailer?
trailers where you call 1-800-MIX-A-LOT, and then it's one of those, kind of three-way parties. No, it's a trailer.
That
That's
sounds
a
fun.
preview. Yeah, a preview for the trailer.
I got you. It's a preview. Oh, this could be interesting.
Apparently, it features the Undertaker and the New Day.
Yeah, you know what? I was a big fan of those Choose Your Own Adventure books growing up. So I need to take that Choose Your Own Adventure into my adult life and, try it in an interactive format.
All right, let's get interactive about NXT last night, shall we?
I think we shall.
NXT, the word of the day for NXT is character development, Matthew. Because last week, let's talk about the paint job, the brand new paint job that we got. We got the wedding, we got a fancy new ring, we got a fancy new lighting scheme, and we saw some new talents showing up. Well, last night we got character development. We got a lot of brand new faces, and they're up and down all over our NXT. Matthew, overall, the ring was full of Trick Williams, Carmelo Hayes, Odyssey Jones, Joe Gacy, Brooks Jensen, Josh Briggs, and Braun Breaker. And to meet them all is from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, the new NXT champion with Goldie, Tommaso Ciampa. What did you think of this whole setup for the main event match?
Wasn't a fan. I think Ciampa should have gotten the opening segment, the spotlight. If you wanted to introduce these people towards the end, that's fine. But
they were given the rub. They're in the ring, and they're getting the rub from the champ.
It seemed a little bit strange. I understand it was a reason to get us to where we ultimately got to end the show. Not a huge fan of the opening segment.
I didn't hate it. Like, it sounds like that you didn't like it, but I didn't like it. Okay. As I was thinking about last week in NXT 2.0, and they're keeping the name 2.0 in there, which drives me absolutely bonkers. What I didn't like was, I thought back, what did Nitro look like the week after they debuted the $1 Million Club and the New Blood? It's kind of like this.
Yeah.
Saw the new guys and the old guys going up against each other. Where's Mike Awesome? Is he going to show up tonight too? That's really what I thought. I mean, that's how it felt to me.
My overall takeaway, not just from here, but as the show progressed, last week, it felt like more of an extension of the NXT that we knew. This second show really
it's a reset and character development.
100%. It felt like the reset. And it felt like it was a lighter show, which is not necessarily a bad thing. Right. But, NXT's old format was basically you got 2 hours that you were more or less splitting between 4 or 5 evenly matched competitors in, very good wrestling matchups. Not that that's always the best way to do it. I mean, you look at a company like Ring of Honor, who's known for their textbook great wrestling matches, but they can't get that vested interest there in storyline or character development. And that, not that NXT did, NXT would traditionally do a better job than that, but this had a different feel. The overall show tonight was you had 2 or 3, what I would say, even matchups, and you had a lot of squash matches in there, and you had a lot of backstage segments. Not bad, but definitely different than the normal NXT formula that we've seen.
Already pre-announced for last night's show was going to be the NXT Cruiserweight title match, Roderick Strong, Kushida. This one smelled like a title change right away, and here we are. Your winner and new NXT Cruiserweight champion, Roderick Strong from the Diamond Mine.
The Diamond Mine needs some gold. They need something to kind of
right? You could smell it.
Yeah, go with the moniker Diamond Mine. You need to give me a reason, why. And
Why are
honestly,
you legit? Why are you
too,
bad?
when you've got a heel stable with 5 people surrounding the ring, they've got to find a way to win that title, and they did due to interference there. So this made sense, and it was a good match to kick off the show. And if you are resetting, I think it's time to start switching some titles around. Glad to see Kushida in a non-Marty McFly gimmick. Glad to see him actually in his the ring attire he's running with now. I think that's a plus. But it was a good matchup. Title change here, and based on what we're going to eventually build to for next week, I think this NXT reset will be well served if we, start putting some new champions up there.
Here's the thing I worry about, because maybe they didn't, forward think about who had the belts at these points. Now that Kushida's dropped the belt, does he drop off the TV?
I don't know. And that's the thing with a lot of people like Kushida, that you associate a little bit more with the older guard. I can't necessarily see a call up on the main roster. Where does he go?
Right.
Here?
And
That's the question.
I want to ask you about that too, and talk exactly about that. LA Knight was out in that opening segment here. He was just in the main event and wrestled twice last week. Does LA Knight get called up?
I think so. I mean, you got the draft right around the corner. I think LA Knight's one of those names that you gotta go ahead and bring up.
I think so too. We saw the vignette for the Mafia connected wrestler. What was his name again? It was Tony D'Angelo. I could do a little less with his De Niro impression, because every once in a while his face went into a De Niro impression. Other than that, I'm okay with it. Looked like Tony Mamaluke.
I think as we further progress into NXT 2.0, I've got a feeling that we are getting more of these occupational or character-oriented characters. Yeah. I don't think you're going to have that
because
many
they're rebuilding everybody at the same time.
Adam Cole's or Bobby Fish's or Roderick Strong's. I think you're going to go a little bit more. You know what last night reminded me a little bit of it, and not that I watch it every week, but it seemed to almost have a little bit of an NWA power feel to it.
Okay.
Or power.
Kaylee Ray and Amari Miller. Again, Kaylee Ray recently shown up. Amari Miller, pretty much a brand new talent. The winner, Kaylee Ray, kind of in the squash.
Yeah. No, and that's fine. I mean, this was like a 2-minute match or so. You're still kind of introducing this crowd to Kaylee Ray, so I don't think it necessarily hurts to get her out there and have her win, in a dominant fashion. And maybe looking back in retrospect, that's one thing that potentially hurt NXT previously, was you had so many people, and I don't know, we may get a month into this and say, my goodness, NXT is a bunch of squash matches with one competitive match, but you can make the case that everybody was previously so evenly matched into NXT, you really had a hard time for people to necessarily stick out as a superstar from week to week.
Right. Let's talk about WWE's first ever Singaporean superstar, Dante Chen. Dante Chen going to make his debut against Trey Baxter. Dante Chen in, again, pretty much a squash.
Yeah, and this is fine. I mean, it's showing us that Dante Chen is here to make an impression. So, yeah. So I'm fine with this.
Andre Chase University vignette with Andre Chase in the classroom. Again, another Chris Harvard type character. There we are. We're getting more characters, and I'm not against it.
No, I found this entertaining. I thought this was actually a really well done segment, and glad to learn a little bit more about the guy who kept interrupting the wedding last week.
Joe Gacy and Cameron Grimes. I got to ask you, between you and me, LA Knight won the belt once, Cameron Grimes won the belt once, and then we found out it was a prop, and DiBiase drove off in a sunset. Is he the champion anymore?
No, he's not. It's going bye-bye. That was NXT 1.0.
So technically, I don't get title loss points. So
yeah, that's very, very true. No, I like what I'm seeing with Gacy. He had a nice little promo to start the match, and he wants the ring to be
Kevin
a safe
Owens
space.
2.0?
Oh my goodness! Here's the thing. I was a few minutes behind on NXT last night, and I was fast forwarding to catch up. And, in that moment where you're trying to catch up, but you go a little bit too far, when I hit the pause button, I thought that was Owens in the ring.
Again, it looked like Owens. So, okay, let's keep on going. Kevin Gacy, or sorry, Joe Gacy, but we're building new characters. Again, the word of the night was character development. Okay. Von Wagner, 6'5", 250 pounds, was thrown into the main event last week to determine the NXT champion. That guy is a hoss.
Yeah. Now, without a doubt, and it was a little bit of a surprise last week to see him in the spotlight so quick, but he's definitely made an impression in his first 2 weeks.
If you were fast forwarding and didn't stop to hear what Wade Barrett said last night, that was a punch to the gut. When Beth Phoenix yelled out, "I'm so happy that he spoke. He finally spoke," talking of Dexter Lumis, the married man. Wade Barrett says, "I'm glad to see that he took the time to get oral lessons last week before his wedding." I'm sorry, what did you say?
Well, is that, what? That might be a reference to Renee Paquette's podcast. I think that's what it is.
Yeah, well, Lindy looked pretty happy, so I'm pretty sure that's exactly what it was.
Okay.
Really kind of launching Elektra Lopez as well last night against Anna Shear.
Yeah, no, Elektra Lopez again.
Look good.
And I think, when you're introducing these people to these quick matches, to put them on display, not a bad thing at this point.
All right, in another squash match, 2-on-1 handicap match. Kerry Millman and Darren Chiapetta versus Odyssey Jones, the winner of the NXT Breakout Tournament, right?
Yeah. No, Odyssey Jones, the runner-up.
Odyssey lost. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It was Carmella Jones, I thought.
Yeah.
Or Carmella.
Yeah. No, but Odyssey was definitely one of the standouts from that tournament, and he was a heavy, favorite. And I think the fact that we're not missing much of a beat and having him showcase pretty strong is a good move.
Frankie Monet, Robert Stone, and Jessica Mia walking backstage. They run into Raquel Gonzalez. Side note here, there's a video going around right now of Raquel Gonzalez, who allegedly might be dating Braun Strowman, or whatever Braun's going by right now. And this video is Raquel Gonzalez dropping the worst possible pickup lines on him while he's working out. It is tremendous. You have to see it.
I'll have to take a look at it. He's country strong,
that kind of commentary on TV, she'd be a star. She's doing the really tough, mean, aggressive. She was just destroying Braun. It was fantastic.
Well, and that's somebody else too who could, benefit from some character development, because I don't feel like, other than exactly what you said, basically just running on her physical attributes, we've gotten much in the way of character development during this run.
Boy, oh boy. Again, character development. We got all of that. Io Shirai and Zoe Stark backstage. Shirai says she doesn't like Gigi Dolan or JC Jane, so if they want a title match, they're on. But you know what? Mandy Rose came out a little bit earlier and cut a promo and said, look, and it's a reboot for her as well with her girls. They're called Toxic Attraction. How do you feel about it?
I think it's a really good stable.
Did you Google the article on Gigi Allen?
No, I have not. I've not seen that article, but I know we covered a lot of
NSFW, not safe for work.
We covered a lot of the bases.
The main event, Pete Dunne and Ridge Holland taking on NXT champion Tommaso Ciampa and Braun Breaker. And Braun Breaker, again, looking just incredible. He talks like Rick Steiner, too. Yeah. And he looks like Rick Steiner. And he moves like Rick Steiner. At the end of the match, Breaker picked up the belt and handed it to Ciampa and didn't let it go right away. We know where this is going, folks. Your thoughts?
Yeah. And, he's got a good look. He's got a good presence overall. And
I think the kid's a star, to be honest. He looks like a star.
No, I agree. I wish they had a little bit more. They were actually able to reference who he was, because I think there was a built-in storyline there, especially between him and Ciampa. The guy looks like $1 million, but at the same time, you've got a guy, he made an impression by beating LA Knight last week. However, there is that storyline of, okay, you think you can jump in here and descend to the top immediately because of your lineage. I want to see that storyline. And the guy's getting a little bit more forceful here, especially in this closing segment, looking at the rookie who necessarily hasn't paid his dues, who's right there with your champion. How long before this gets old for Ciampa? If it's the Ciampa of old, this guy who's standing there in your spotlight, you're having to play tug of war with the belt,
right.
Keep
you're pulling on my
up.
Goldie.
Yeah. Keep building it up until we get to that point. And man, I think it could be much more beneficial if you could use the lineage in there. But I do want to circle back around. One of my highlights of the night, though, our buddy from the wedding last week, the ring bearer, we got his backstage vignette. You've heard of Strong Style. How about Style Strong? That man with a heck of a closet, heck of a wardrobe. I want to see more from this guy.
And what did he say it meant at the end? It said act stupid or something. What was it?
I don't know. But this out of all the packages we had last night, his might have been my favorite.
Oh boy. We got to talk real quick about tonight's AEW Dynamite. It is the biggest Dynamite they've ever had. These are just the 6 segments that are announced for Dynamite tonight. CM Punk live interview. MJF taking on Brian Pillman Jr. FTR with Tully Blanchard taking on Sting and Darby Allin. Cody Rhodes returns against Malachi Black. Britt Baker DMD puts the title on the line against Ruby Soho. And Kenny Omega takes on Bryan Danielson. Holy smokes, that's just 2 hours.
How is this a 2-hour show? How is this free TV? I mean, this is absolutely amazing. There is absolutely no fat to trim on this card at all.
And this is just tonight. They will do another 2 hours, which I assume they're taping tonight. They will do another 2 hours for Rampage on Friday.
I will say this, AEW, more so than I've ever seen from the WWE / WWF, WCW, they have completely redefined wrestling on free TV. I mean, this is absolutely absurd.
Really? Because WCW was giving away title matches all the time.
Yeah, but it felt like it was not necessarily with the best of intentions. It felt like it was more of a nervous reflex, in something that was ratings obsessed. And here's the thing, you feel now AEW is doing it more for the product and the art form than trying to beat someone else for ratings. This just feels different to me.
Okay. Tonight, we've got Dynamite, 8 Eastern, 7 Central. And then Friday, 2 more hours of Rampage. Holy smokes. Arthur Ashe Stadium. Quite possibly the biggest crowd they've ever had in AEW history. And I don't know what the weather looks like because we had a little bit of rain go through here in the Wisconsin area on Tuesday night. So, late Monday night, Tuesday morning. So I don't know if that's made its way over to New York, but hopefully the weather holds. I don't know if Arthur Ashe has a cover over the top, but holy shit. I mean,
also some reports yesterday too that some more seating options were opened up. So they're planning.
Yeah, one production got in there and they noticed that they had ticket spots available. They sold more tickets.
Yeah, so they're going to be up over 20 is what they're saying. Yeah, and have you seen a picture of the setup, Meathead?
No, I have not.
Yeah, it looks, from what I've seen, it looks really good. I mean, it is a tennis stadium, so you have got, not necessarily as wide of levels, but it's a bit steeper, and I think it's going to be a really, really good visual on TV tonight.
For Matthew Thomas, on the man they call Meathead, we are done for Wednesday morning. We'll talk to you tomorrow morning to talk everything AEW. So long, everyone.